A goalkeeper making 11 saves just to keep the score close. A president of world football catching himself mid-sentence on live television. Federal agents waiting at a departure gate in New York. None of that sounds like a normal World Cup final week. But it's exactly what happened after Spain beat Argentina 1-0 in July 2026. This is the story of how a tournament built to crown a champion ended up on trial in the court of public opinion instead. Tournaments like this aren't just games. They're 4 years of build-up, billions of dollars, and the reputations of the people who run the sport. When fans start asking whether a World Cup was fair, the damage doesn't stay on the pitch. It reaches sponsors, broadcasters, and the credibility of FIFA itself. That's why the noise around Argentina's run to the final became bigger than any single match. It wasn't just about who lost. It was about whether people could trust what they were watching. FIFA had already been accused, fairly or not, of favoring Argentina once before. After Qatar 2022, memes joking about Infantino's closeness to Lionel Messi's team had circulated online for years. So when Argentina arrived in North America in the summer of 2026 as defending champions, some fans were already primed to look for signs of favoritism. That backdrop matters. It means every close call at this tournament was viewed through a lens shaped by 4 years of jokes and suspicion, whether or not any single decision deserved it. Lionel Messi led Argentina into his final World Cup as a player. Gianni Infantino, FIFA's president since 2016, was in the middle of campaigning for re-election. Claudio Tapia headed the Argentine Football Association, and was already known to American authorities because of a federal investigation into AFA's finances that predated the tournament. On the officiating side, referees and video review teams found themselves under a level of scrutiny most of them had never faced before. Every one of these people would end up part of the same story, whether they wanted to be or not. So how did it all start unraveling? It began quietly in the group stage, with the kind of contact that happens in almost every match, a high boot here, a foul that didn't get a whistle there. Reasonable people could and did disagree about specific calls. What turned isolated incidents into a pattern, in the eyes of critics, was the accumulation. The moment that first pushed the story into the spotlight came in the round of 32. Argentina needed extra time and a 111th minute own goal just to beat Cape Verde, one of the tournament's smaller nations. Interviewed afterward by an Argentine journalist, Infantino said on camera, "Tonight I suffered with Argentina, but I'm neutral." The pause between those two phrases was enough. Clips spread within hours, and the man whose job depends on appearing impartial had handed critics a line they didn't have to invent. Later in the tournament, a separate incident became its own flashpoint. American forward Folarin Balogun received a red card that was later overturned. U.S. President Donald Trump publicly stated, in the Oval Office, that he had personally called Infantino about the decision. That a sitting head of state could claim direct influence over a refereeing outcome, regardless of the actual mechanics of how the reversal happened, added fuel to a broader question fans were already asking: how much outside pressure was reaching officials at this tournament? Argentina then advanced through the knockout rounds toward the final, beating England in the semi-final. After that win, several Argentine players held up a banner referencing the Falklands, known in Argentina as Las Malvinas, a still sensitive topic tied to the 1982 war between Argentina and the United Kingdom. FIFA opened a formal investigation, citing its rule against using football to make political statements. British officials, including a government spokesperson and a government minister, publicly criticized the gesture. Then came the final itself. Spain dominated. Argentina finished the match without registering a shot on target, while goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez made 11 saves just to keep the score at 1-0 after extra time. Argentina's Enzo Fernandez was sent off with a second yellow card late in the game. When the final whistle blew, the game turned physical. Leandro Paredes grabbed Spain's Eric Garcia by the throat and clashed with Gavi. Nahuel Molina confronted Spain's Rodri. Argentina's assistant coach, Roberto Ayala, got into an altercation with Dani Olmo, which he later described as a shove, and apologized for, though almost Camp disputed that characterization. During the medal ceremony, Argentina's players faced their own fans rather than the podium as Spain lifted the trophy, a moment widely read as disrespectful in the moment, though some later reporting suggested the players were turning toward their own supporters rather than snubbing Spain. Within days, U.S. federal agents reportedly intercepted AFA President Claudio Tapia and other officials at a New York airport as part of an existing investigation into more than $300 million in transactions connected to the Federation's commercial contracts, seizing electronic devices. The AFA disputed some details of how this was characterized in the press, denying that Tapia had been formally summoned by a U.S. court, while confirming a third party had been asked to testify before a grand jury. Some of this is not in dispute. The Infantino quote is real and verifiable on video. The Balogun reversal happened, and Trump did claim credit for it publicly. FIFA did open disciplinary cases against Argentina's federation, several players, and a team official, and did fine the AFA over $300,000 for multiple violations, including the banner and discriminatory conduct by fans. The federal investigation into AFA's finances is real and was already underway before the World Cup began. Other parts of the story are murkier. A claim that circulated widely online, that Infantino struck a secret deal with UEFA to hand Spain the final in exchange for support in his 2027 re-election bid, has no supporting evidence, and has been directly examined and rejected by independent fact-checkers, who point out a simpler explanation. Argentina lost because they didn't manage a single shot on target in 2 hours of football. FIFA's own refereeing chief, Pierluigi Collina, has stated flatly that officiating cannot be influenced by anyone, including FIFA's president. Football fandom runs on narrative, and this tournament handed both sides of the argument exactly what they needed. Argentine supporters, watching their team dominate for 4 years and then manage 0 shots in a final, wanted an explanation bigger than, "We had a bad night." Fans of other nations, primed by years of jokes about FIFA and Argentina, saw every close call as confirmation of something they already suspected. Neither group was working from a neutral starting point, and that made the gap between fact and theory easy to blur, especially once video clips could travel across the internet stripped of context. For FIFA, the fallout meant fresh questions about Infantino's neutrality heading into a re-election campaign, even though the overwhelming majority of national federations have publicly backed him. For Argentina, it meant disciplinary fines, suspensions for players and a coaching staff member, reduced stadium capacity for upcoming matches, and a federal financial investigation that will likely outlast the tournament itself by years. For the sport more broadly, it meant another data point in an ongoing conversation about how video review is used, who gets to interpret it, and how much trust fans still have in the process. None of this will be fully settled soon. The FBI investigation into AFA's finances is ongoing, with no charges filed as of this writing. FIFA's disciplinary cases against Argentina remain open. And Gianni Infantino is still expected to stand for re-election, a vote that will happen under more scrutiny than any in recent memory. What's clear is that a tournament meant to crown a champion instead left behind a longer list of open questions about power, pressure, and who football's biggest institution is really accountable to. Whatever comes out of those investigations, this World Cup will be remembered as much for what happened off the pitch as for what happened on it.